Hello and welcome to another episode of Jamaica Magazine. I'm your host, Audrey Williams, and I'm excited to take you through the pages of today's show. Can you believe it? July has just flown by. And here we are, already on the last Friday of the month. So much has happened and there's still plenty more to come. We've got some great stories, updates, and inspiration coming your way. So don't move a muscle. We'll be right back after the news.
Good day, I'm Theodore Henry and this is your JIS News for Friday, July 25, 2025. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness says the government remains steadfast in its thrust to remove all obstacles to growth and make Jamaica the most business and investor-friendly country in the region. He was speaking at the 200th anniversary celebrations for J. Ray and Nephew Limited at the entity's corporate offices in New Kingston Wednesday.
We're also transforming the business environment, cutting red tape, streamlining approvals, reducing corporate income tax for manufacturers, and creating a more predictable and competitive investment climate.
To sustain businesses, Dr. Holness further reaffirms the government's commitment to undertaking transformational measures to lower energy costs, describing this as an urgent priority. In the meantime, he is lauding J. Ray and Nephew on its historic 200th anniversary milestone and, by extension, the Campari Group for its enduring partnership and investment in Jamaica.
The scale of this investment is a powerful vote of confidence in Jamaica's future and in our capacity to compete and lead on the world stage.
88 farmers in southern St. Elizabeth have received official land titles for the properties they occupy under the government's $26 billion Pedro Plains Irrigation Expansion Project. The titles were handed over by Agriculture Minister Floyd Green during a recent ceremony at Newell High School. The beneficiaries are from several farming communities, including Newell, Newcomb Valley, Bellevue, Watchwell, Claremont, Pedro Plains, and Burnt Savannah. This latest distribution adds to the 200 titles issued on July 11 when Prime Minister Andrew Holness broke ground for the project. In total, 1,000 land titles will be issued free of cost to support the development. Minister Green says this is a critical step in facilitating the irrigation scheme, which will expand water access to 4,000 hectares of farmland and benefit up to 6,000 farmers and households.
Now with this document, no one can question your right to be there. And it also secures for us a legacy of farming, because I know you will do more in agriculture with this document.
Among the beneficiaries was Leonie Woodstock from Newell District, who told JIS News that the year-long titling process was life-changing.
I want to say thanks to Minister Floyd Green and to our Prime Minister, Honorable Andrew Holness, and the Land Agency that came through and delivered.
Jamaica's first gastronomy academy has been launched. The institution, which has been established to train culinary chefs at the Montego Bay Convention Center, is already catering to its first cohort of executive sous chefs who are now in training for certification. During Wednesday's ceremony to officially launch the academy, Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett said it marked a significant milestone in the country's culinary evolution that would redefine Jamaica's tourism industry.
Over the decades, our extraordinary culinary heritage has remained one of our most renowned tourism offerings. The world knows our jerk cuisine, our Blue Mountain coffee, and our rum. Yet we have not fully capitalized on the depth and sophistication of the Jamaican restaurant. That will change.
Asserting that Jamaica is already on the path to becoming a premier destination for gastronomy, Minister Bartlett says the Academy is securing our place in the global culinary conversation.
Through the Tourism Enhancement Fund's Gastronomy Network, for example, we are forging strategic partnerships along the culinary value chain and building compliant gastronomy subsectors that can be marketed as stores and package experiences. From the Taste of Jamaica master brand to Devon House's designation as our first gastronomy center, we are laying the foundation for culinary excellence.
Jamaica's 63 emancipation and independence celebrations will see a major expansion with street dances in all constituencies, along with parish galas and fireworks displays set for August 6. This year's celebrations are being held under the theme, Be Proud, Be Bold in the Black, Green and Gold. Addressing a recent JIS think tank, Culture Minister Olivia Grange said the approach would make the festivities more inclusive and accessible, bringing the spirit of independence directly into communities.
We are asking those from the rural areas to enjoy the celebrations that we are producing for you in your parish, rather than coming into Kingston to be at the National Stadium where there's a capacity which we cannot exceed.
Several events are also scheduled to take place leading up to the Grand Gala, starting with the National Emancipation and Independence Thanksgiving Church service at Faith Cathedral on July 27. Another major highlight is the annual Seville Emancipation Jubilee Vigil on July 31st. The College of Agriculture, Science and Education, CASE, has partnered with the Tuskegee University College of Veterinary Medicine in the United States to create new opportunities for Jamaican students to pursue veterinary medicine. As part of the collaboration, a pre-veterinary medicine scholars program will be established to serve as a pipeline for CASE undergraduates. The two institutions recently signed a Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, at the Ministry of Agriculture's Old Hope Road office in Kingston. Portfolio Minister Floyd Green is welcoming the initiative as a strategic investment in Jamaica's future.
For us, this partnership will directly address the national shortage of qualified veterinarians and animal science professionals by creating a structured pathway from CASE to Tuskegee, one of the leading historically black universities with a world-renowned veterinary program. Jamaican students can gain world-class training and return with advanced skills to support animal health, livestock production, and food safety.
The agreement also supports collaborative research in areas such as animal genetics, nutrition, and disease control.
This is just the start of the partnership. We intend to build a network around research, which is a significant shift in CASE's culture, where we want CASE to become the best thing in this part of the world.
I have absolutely no doubt that this partnership will bloom into a model of international cooperation in agricultural education, creating those pathways for the next generation of agricultural scientists and veterinary professionals.
And finally, the Ministry of Education has partnered with the Logos Hope Bookship to boost literacy efforts and foster a greater love for reading among Jamaican students. As part of the initiative, Portfolio Minister Dr. Dana Morris-Dixon and Speaker of the House Juliet Holness organized a special tour of the vessel for 26 students from the Louise Bennett Coverley Primary School and their chaperones. The group arrived aboard one of the new school buses set to be introduced in the upcoming academic year. Minister Morris-Dixon is urging parents across the island to take advantage of the opportunity to expose their children to the ship's offerings.
I would encourage every Jamaican parent, if you can, to come to the ship. Bring your child, let them come and buy some books. The books are really inexpensive, and we encourage each child to have at least one reading book that they can use. What we want for Jamaica is a country where our children are literate, where they understand more about the world, and we can do so much of that through books.
Logos Hope is docked in Kingston at the Cement Coal Pier from July 18 to August 20 and will be in Montego Bay from August 21 to September 15. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.
According to the Jamaica Public Service Company, the average cost of electricity is $65 per kilowatt hour. Earning for just 2 hours a week might seem harmless, but over a month, that adds up to 6 kilowatt hours, costing you $455. Using a curling iron for 30 minutes a day, that's 3 kilowatt hours and $195 on your monthly bill. And your hairdryer? just 30 minutes a day racks up a shocking 45 kilowatt hours, costing you $2,925 per month. Here's a tip. Unplug grooming tools when not in use and limit usage time to save on your light bill.
Thank you for staying with us. Summer is here, and it's the perfect time to explore Jamaica's rich history. Up next, we're taking you on a journey to one of our island's treasured historical sites. Consider this your very own personal guide to your next summer stop.
A sun-kissed land with the golden beams nuzzling your skin. Boundless beauty from its rural to urban streets, and above all, a land with a tropical climate. It's warm weather all year round in Jamaica, but it can move from the extreme cold up high to the really hot down low. This is Jamaica, and this is a hot summer in Jamaica. June 22, 2019 saw the extreme maximum temperature being broken in Kingston, 39.1 degrees Celsius. Well, many will probably tell you that it's one of the hottest parishes in the island, and Port Royal in the parish could provide you with an even hotter but rich summer experience. Let's say this summer you want to pursue a little more than just sand and sea, and want a taste of the island's rich culture demonstrated through history. Then Port Royal offers a unique experience of Jamaica's yesterdays.
300 years ago, when we knew Port Royal, the city began its history as an island not connected to Jamaica. For 33 years after 1655, Port Royal was known as the richest and most sinful or wickedest cities in the Western world due to the piracy and extensive trading activities that took place here at that time. The typical temperature at Port Royal presently is very hot because it's in the summertime. However, despite the weather conditions, we have a lot of visitors coming here for swimming, fishing, and recreational activities.
On this historical summer walk, a distinctive structure cementing our history here at Port Royal that you'd be intrigued to learn about is this tilted building known famously as the Giddy House.
The structure, formerly known today as the Giddy House, was actually constructed in 1888 and called the Royal Artillery Store. Its specific purpose was to supply battery complexes with ammunition. That structure got its name, Giddy House, during the second earthquake happening January 14, 1907. That earthquake caused the structure to sink 10 feet into the sand and the top half tilted 15 degrees. So because of that sensation persons get when they enter, we call it the Giddy House.
So it's likely that you'll feel this strange giddy feeling on entering the building, but it's all a part of the unforgettable experience.
Apart from you finding the Giddy House structure here in Port Royal, you can also locate the Old Naval Hospital structure. The original structure was constructed in 1812. It got destroyed by a fire in 1815. The structure that we have here today was restored in 1818. That structure is the first prefabricated cast iron structure in the Western world. So it's built on floating rafts. Those structures are buried some 14 feet deep into the earth's surface, so that structure was built to actually withstand earthquakes and slightly sway or swivel with hurricanes.
And an old British defense settlement wouldn't be completed without a fort.
Another element you can find here inside the town of Port Royal is the fortification called Fort Charles. That fortification was constructed in 1656, built by the British to protect the city of Port Royal and to also prevent enemy ships from entering the harbor.
History still lives on through some of the most unique pieces stored in 2 museums here at Port Royal, even ones from beneath the waves.
The museums that we have here in Port Royal, 2 of them to be exact, those 2 museums contain old man-made exhibits called artifacts. All of them are authentic. Most of them are over 280 years old. They were retrieved from the sunken city of Port Royal. The sunken city is approximately 35 acres of land, which sank during the first earthquake happening June 7, 1692. So inside our museums, you can locate items such as utensils over 300 years old, weapons used by British soldiers in combat. We also found a watch in pieces, French made to be exact, which stopped at 1143. That's the approximate time period of the first earthquake, June 7, 1692.
A sea might have sunk piece of an island, but we all enjoy how that sea's cyclical rhythms set the pace for island life and sultry summer excitement.
Apart from to come to Port Royal to tour the fort and to learn about the town's fascinating history, due to the town's strategic location, it is known famously across the world for fishing activities, recreational activities, and meaningfully, there are 2 quays off the coast of Port Royal, one of them most famously being called Lime Quay, the other Maiden Quay. You can get a 20-minute boat trip by taking a sea taxi or a small canoe from the fishing village.
Antiques 3 centuries ago labeled the city as sinful, but history's delicate hands in weaving Jamaica's culture has created a safe haven in Port Royal.
Presently, Port Royal is considered as one of the safest areas in Jamaica. It's known approximately for outside 75 years to have a 0.5% crime rate, with a population not exceeding 1,300 inhabitants, including myself.
So you see, summers in Jamaica can be wherever or however you choose. According to the Jamaica Public Service Company, the average cost of electricity is $65 per kilowatt hour. A refrigerator is essential in every household, but what's the cost of keeping it plugged in all day? For a 15 to 18 cubic foot inverter refrigerator running 24 hours a day, that's 64 kilowatt hours per month, which adds up to $3,900 on your light bill. Now, compare that to a regular 18 cubic foot refrigerator, it consumes about 86 kilowatt hours, costing you $5,590 monthly. Got a bigger fridge? A 26 cubic foot inverter model uses up to 108 kilowatt hours, costing $7,020 each month just to keep it cool. Just a tip, always check the energy rating before you buy. Inverter models save more in the long run.
Running out of ideas to keep the little ones busy this summer? Don't stress. We've rounded up some fun and easy ways to keep them active, learning, and entertained this summer.
Wow, what a school year that was. The pickups, the drop-offs, the exams, the classes. Oh, I'm so glad for the break. Thank you, summer.
But wait. All play and no work is just as bad as all work and no play.
Studies suggest that mathematics and reading suffer significantly during the long summer months when students are away from the classroom. We don't want our children to suffer from summer learning loss. We want to help them maintain their academic development and possibly learn new skills over the summer break. Here are some workable ways to prevent the summer slide. Summer school and camps are sure ways of keeping your child active during the break from school. Not only are they educational and recreational, they may also help grow your child's interest in a particular area. As parents, we should take the time to read, write, and spell with our children. That way, their minds are constantly engaged. For older children, have them write reports on the interesting books they've read. And with that, your children will be ahead of the class when they're asked to write an essay about their summer holiday. What's more, all the parish libraries have a summer program that your children can be part of. In addition to reading sessions, the library offers embroidery, art and craft, performing arts, games, tablet tutorials, and computer training. Math is all around us, so there's no reason for the learning to stop when classes end. On the road, you and your child can take turns making up math problems and answering them. At home, cooking and baking can help with measurement and fractions. You can create summer jobs for your child with house chores that you pay for in cash or kind. Children can also take up gardening. Items on the grocery list can be added, subtracted, and multiplied. Games are also a good source of incorporating math into your child's routine during the summer months. You could try football, cricket, hopscotch, card games, and dominoes. And not only do games keep our children's brains sharp, being physically active reduces their risk of becoming obese. Jamaica is awash with parks, museums, zoos, and other cultural locations. They can help your child with civics, history, and integrated studies. There are also cultural events taking place during the summer months, including emancipation and independence celebrations. Aside from learning about our culture, the most important benefit from these excursions is spending quality time with our loved ones. For children going to a new school or a new grade, introduce them to their new books. Have them read stories and practice math problems. Parents can also make flashcards with their children and by so doing, revise all that they've learned over the weeks. Children may explore their creative side by making a movie on a smartphone or tablet. There are also tons of free educational websites that can help children stay on top of their learning throughout the summer.
When I try these, my children will definitely be ahead of the curve.
Up next, we're taking a closer look at how the Jamaica Agricultural Commodities Regulatory Authority, Jakra, is helping to safeguard Jamaica's reputation and keep our world-famous products competitive on the global stage.
If you're in the business of coconut, cocoa, coffee, or spices like ginger, nutmeg, pimento, or turmeric, there's one name you need to know: Jakra. Short for the Jamaica Agricultural Commodities Regulatory Authority, Jakra is both a promoter and a protector. It supports industry growth, sets and enforces standards, and ensures Jamaica's agricultural exports remain globally competitive. But Jakra isn't just about rules and red tape. The agency plays a balancing act, promoting growth and development in 7 key agricultural commodities, known locally as the 3 C's and 4 spices. One of its most powerful tools, licensing.
If it is that you manufacture, distribute, or process a regulated agricultural commodity, if you export or import, if you operate works related to it, if you establish or operate a nursery for any of those, or if you operate as a dealer or special dealer for any of our regulated agricultural commodities or their substitutes, then you are engaged in regulated activities and you must be licensed by Jakra. Licensing pretty much ensures that everyone is participating in the industry is legitimate and accountable. And this is a big deal because properly implementing licensing, properly enforcing licensing protects the honest operators within the industry because licensing levels the playing field. It prevents unfair competition from unlicensed players who don't follow the rules. Licensing also allows us to defend our brands. For example, everybody knows about Jamaica Blue Mountain, Jamaica High Mountain Coffee. Those brands are world famous and globally respected. Licensing allows us to say you cannot use our trademark unless you have a license. And we have to enforce that trademark and enforce that license in order to prevent counterfeit from flooding the markets and damaging our global reputation, and also importantly from diverting revenue that would normally come to or cocoa or coffee farmers and our stakeholders to illicit actors. Licensing also ensures food safety because, of course, licensing has standards, requires all licensees to meet those standards, and it prevents substandard products from entering the market, protecting our consumers' health and also our reputation internationally. And also importantly, something that we're talking about more frequently now, licensing protects or preserves our market access internationally.
Recognizing that licensing has been under-enforced in the past, Jakra is stepping up.
So Jakra is streamlining its licensing processes, making it more efficient for the stakeholder as well as for use in the market. We're also stepping up enforcement because what's the point of having fair rules if they're not being applied? We're also cracking down on the misuse of our trademarks.
Don't get caught offside. Operating without a license or misusing trademarks could lead to penalties. But enforcement isn't the goal, it's compliance.
We're encouraging you to contact Jakra and we will assist you through the process. We will help you identify the appropriate license for your activity. You know what applications you'll need. We can provide you with information on the varying requirements and application fees, which currently have been discounted by 50%, I might add.
If you need more information on licensing, please email Jakra at customerservice@jakra.org or call 876-923-2633 or 876-758-1442.
Today, I am visiting the Logos Hope Vessel, the world's largest floating bookstore. Come with me as we explore a world bursting with knowledge, culture, and connections. All aboard?
It's not just the book fair that we have on board. We have a lot of events that happen on board, and it's specially made for the people and the visitors of Jamaica.
Want to know what else is on board? Follow along for more highlights and don't miss your chance to visit.
And I was raised in sunshine, Jamaica, my blessed Jamaica, mighty one, oh, bless our land always, for strength and no vigor. So let's remind ourselves and tell the world hello, hello, I'm a Jamaican, we are Jamaicans, hello, hello, I'm a Jamaican.
We've come to the end of our program. Hope you are educated, entertained, and most of all, excited to watch tomorrow's program. Missed aspects of today's show? Visit our website, jis.gov.jm, for a full recap. I'm Audrey Williams. Bye for now.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.